Uh, hey everybody, how's it going? A lot of surprises in this episode as well. I think we can leave it at that. Um, hello, I am, of course, your host, I guess, Joe Magician. That was a way to end an episode, I suppose. Um, how's everybody doing in the chat? I put up a poll asking what people thought of it. 0% people hated it. 13% meh. 87% love. I think those are the metrics HBO is going for. Um, I think we'll just start at the top of the episode and we'll just work our way down, and then we will talk about um, Lenor's surprising survival. I guess we'll put it that way. um, so yeah. Okay, so it starts off at the top. We start off with with Lena's funeral. Everybody's there. It is a little strange how everybody's there. I am unclear why all the high towers are there and the entire court. Like, Lena's important to Corlys, but a lot of them don't really like Corlys very much, especially not Otto. Um, I wasn't sure the entire royal family needed to be there, but it did make for high drama. And boy, do I love high drama. Egg Six is having an existential breakdown in the chat, trying to figure out if he loves or hates it or loves it. It's going back and forth all the way. Might be the one hate vote. Yeah, dragon feelings are happening. There was a lot of dragons in this one. I counted 7. I think there was. So obviously Vagar. Oh boy, was there Vagar in this one. Caraxes, Sea Smoke, Meleys, Cyrax, Sunfire, Dreamfire, and what was the other one I said? Um, I put this in the patron Slack. I think that was it. So 7 dragons were there, if I counted that correctly. Um, there was a quote from the books that was a really good one that they talked about how it was like it is the there were so many dragons at Lena's funeral. It was like a new Valyria. Um, but you could tell that the High Towers did not want to be there. They are putting a lot of effort into making Aegon just be completely unlikable, and he buried the needle on this one. It was quite something. Him yawning in the middle of Lena's funeral, not even like off in the back somewhere, not out of sight or anything like that. Front and center, Aegon just going, ugh, just pulling one of those. Um, I guess a long night of drinking and trying to nail all the servers at whatever event he was at the night before. Really trying to make him look like a total piece of shit. Vagar didn't actually show up for quite a bit, yeah. The way she showed up was, well, okay, we're gonna get to that in a little bit. So, a very touching moment. You have the Valarians looking absolutely devastated. Rhaenys looks like she's about to break down her kids. Bela and Rhaena totally devastated by the loss of their mother. Corlys is somewhere like trying to figure out where things are going in the future and also how to have an emotion at the same time. He's like, part of him's like, oh, I lost my daughter. This is terrible. Also, like, this really screws up my super ambitious plans for the future. And this does come up later in the episode that Corlys is so laser focused on the the future of House Velaryon as a major house, as being the big house in Westeros besides the Targaryens, being maybe even supplanting them one day, that you can tell that his emotions are really split in that way. It's not just the loss of his daughter, it's the loss of kind of the legacy of where he was going with having, Vagar in the house and the relationship with Damon and where that alliance would eventually go. Because you see him right after the funeral, and the first thing you see him doing is chatting up Luke and telling him how one day he'll be the Lord of the Tides. And it's like, you can sort of tell that his mind is spinning in a lot of different ways, where um, Rhaenys has gone straight to sadness and anger. Anger particularly at Rhaenyra. Really not a big fan of Rhaenyra at this funeral. Um, the cold shoulder that Rhaenys gave Rhaenyra could have frozen her solid. Um, but I thought there was a lot of really interesting things, especially in Vaemon's um, speech, I guess. This did confirm basically that the Velaryons have their own sort of funeral rites, that they don't just do the same thing the Targaryens do, where they burn their dead in the Valyrian fashion. They have this whole ceremony set up so that they drop the casket, which I was unsure what it was made of. At first I thought it was driftwood, but then that thing sank like a stone. And if that was stone that they carved that the casket out of, that is some beautiful work right there. But I think it was stone, but supposed to look like driftwood. The whole thing where they're pulling the rope so that it will fall into the water. That was something else. Oh, let's see here. So we got pictures. Egg6 is posting them in the Slack. Yeah, that's Dreamfire up in the back there. Sunfire. Sunfire is the one with the huge horns right in the front. I think I'll pull these up in a little bit. Really, really good speech out of him too. But I think it was terrible and you felt for Lena, but also this was played for a lot of comedy, which I didn't see coming from Lena's funeral, because as this is all happening, Vaemond is clearly singling out the people he's talking about during his speech as he stares at them, and everyone at the funeral notices, and they all turn to look, and then they look at the next person. They're like, boy, Vaemond really chose violence today. He is not having a he is not having a calm funeral. He's gonna tell everyone what he thinks of them. It was like the Festivus of funerals. I've never seen anything like it. He was going petty, and he was going after every single person he had a problem with at that funeral. I got the speech down. It's also in High Valyrian, which I thought was cool. I wasn't sure if the Velaryons all spoke High Valyrian, but apparently they do. Yes, it was a little Iron Island like. Yeah, could have been lined with lead. That's true. So here we go. This is what he said in High Valyrian. We join today at the seat of the sea to commit Lady Lena of House Velaryon to the eternal waters. The dominion of the Merling King, that was really surprising to me. I was wondering if that was going to come up, but it totally did. Where he will guard her for all the days to come as she sets to sea for her final voyage. Lady Lena leaves 2 true-born daughters on the shore. Boy, was that one. That one was just like, just start staring at Rhaenyra when that one happens. Though their mother will not return from her voyage, they will all remain bound together in blood. Salt courses through Velaryon blood. Ours runs thick. Ours runs true. This entire time staring straight at Jason Luke as he's saying this. And ours must never thin. My gentle niece, may the winds be as strong as your back, your seas as calm as your spirit, and your nets be as full as your heart. From the sea we came, to the sea we shall return. Nice speech. Really veered off the side there. He also stared at Damon during parts of this. Clearly, Vaemond letting everyone at the funeral know that apparently a lot of the Velaryons are unhappy with how Jason Luke are, I guess, masquerading as Velaryons at this point. Of course, this is really not the venue to do it. And it's also, it really has nothing to do with Lena's death. Whether or not Lena's dead, one of those kids is inheriting the or supposed to inherit High Tide. So bad for him, Vaemond, on that one. Eleanor Johnson asks, why did Damon laugh? He laughed at the pure blood part, that obviously he just came back to Westeros and he's like, those aren't Laenor's kids. Yeah, Damon was laughing at the implication from Vayman. He's like, wow, this guy's really taking this moment to take a shot at these two little kids. Okay. Um, but that ended up being a thing that ran throughout the episode that quite clearly, as I was talking about, Corlys is really pushing for the two Strongs to be his heirs, to be the heirs of House Velaryon, even though everyone else realizes that they are totally not Valarians and they're really unhappy about it. That the rest of the island, the rest of the family, does not want to swear fealty to a couple of bastard kids. Um, you also felt for Rhaenyra. It was why are you choosing this time to call me out, Vayman? Like, calm down, man. You also saw Eamon was. I couldn't really tell where Eamon was. He was just sort of there. Helena, I'm not even sure if she knew what was going on, um, which is kind of normal. I did notice one thing that while the whole funeral is going on, Rhaenyra really grasps onto Jace and Luke and is holding them. They're crying. They're upset about what's going on. Jace is realizing what Vayman is saying, and she's offering them comfort. And then you pan over to the high towers, and Alicent just sort of sitting there going like, "Yep, can we get this over with?" Um, Unclear if she is thinking about what her kids are feeling, if they've ever been to a funeral before, that kind of thing. Rhaenys absolutely looked like she was about to fall apart right there. That was heartbreaking. Let's see here. It was also cool to see the underwater caskets, all of them. As you sank down, you could see them in the background. They were all just kind of scattered there. It was like a weird underwater Stark crypts. And that's something that from the books you don't really get too much. There's really a feeling that only like the Targaryens and the Starks and the Lannisters have their own weird burial practices that have to do with their culture, and I guess the Ironborn. But here they took a real shot to kind of pull apart the Velaryons from the Targaryens and emphasize their relationship to the sea. That they really do have like this almost Ironborn connection to it. The idea that that they came from the sea and they will return from it, that they do not consider themselves the children of fire, even though they do have Targaryen blood in them. This obviously comes up later in the episode. Rhaenyra and Damon make this clear when they're talking about their plan. But yeah, the Velaryons really are separate. That's one thing I've really loved about this show so far, is that they haven't just made them the teal Targaryens, I guess. The same family, but just wearing different colors. It really, really set them apart. Oh yeah, thank you, Steven Stark, by the way. Hit that like button if you could. We got 113 likes, 250 people watching. Also, I'm betting a lot of you subscribed in the last couple of weeks. Just hit 35,000 subscribers kind of out of nowhere off my last few videos. So welcome everybody. So if we get to 150 likes, I will put on a silly hat. If we get to 200, different silly hat going on. At 175, somebody's getting a free shirt from my Threadless shop. Yeah, the Tealgarians. It was good to really see that they were clearly still Valyrian. The funeral rites were being read out in High Valyrian, but they were very, very different from the Targaryen funeral that we saw for Aemma Arryn. I mean, they have dragons, they have sea smoke, they have melees. They could definitely do the same thing if they want to, but they haven't really made that a core part of their identity. The Velaryons they still belong to the sea. Yeah, 35,000 subscribers. That is quite a lot. Really, people really like those last two videos, I guess. I'll pull up the dragon stuff in a second. So, so like I said earlier, there's a whole bunch of dragons there. I slowed it down and I looked at each one of them, and I was trying to. Oh, silly hat time. I guess we just blew by that one. That was really fast. There you go. The turtle silly hat. So we turn back and we see sort of the outdoor courtyard that ends up being kind of the centerpiece of a lot of the episode. A lot of action here comes here. Okay, not action, but tension. Tension happens here. And then you see all the dragons coming down, except for one. Vhagar is missing. From the books, we learn that as, I guess, the ship went from Pentos all the way back to Driftmark for Lena's funeral, Vhagar just kind of followed behind. Nobody was riding her. She just kind of she just kind of went her way there. And there were, yes, so you could clearly see Caraxes, mainly Syrax. The Sea Smoke was there, and then obviously Sunfire and Dreamfire. You can confirm it at the end of the episode. You see the ones that are flying back, basically. You see Vhagar, and then you see two other dragons. Which two dragons would that be going back to King's Landing? Well, it's obviously going to be Helena's Dreamfire and Aegon's Sunfire. They're pretty big also. Sunfire and Dreamfire are not small. All right, let's see if we can pull these up. Hang on a second. I'm just gonna download these quickly from Slack. I didn't have a chance to take screenshots, unfortunately. All right, so put these in this folder. All right, so let's open this up. We're gonna take a look at these screenshots real fast. Whoops. Hang on a second. All right, here we go. So you can see here on the right-hand side of the screen, the gold one with the big horns, that's going to be Sunfire. I'm pretty sure that's Sunfire. Well, it's either Sunfire or Syrax, but the color looks like Sunfire to me. We don't get really close-ups on the rest of these dragons. They're just sort of there. Another big tannish golden dragon back there. Sea Smoke, I'm pretty sure, or that might be Dreamfire up there. I'm not really sure. If this is the High Towers arriving, then it would be Dreamfire on the left and Sunfire on the right, and maybe that's Syrax. Yeah, Dreamfire is a full-grown dragon. Sunfire is pretty big too. Nowhere near the size of like Vhagar or Vermithor or Silverwing, but still pretty big dragons. And let's check. Oh, thank you, Egg6, by the way, for grabbing these and putting these in the Slack. Okay, let me see if I can find the other one. And you can see up in the sky, you can see Caraxes' weird leg things coming off of him. You see two people coming in on the dragon on the right, so that must be Sunfire. Well, maybe, I don't know. Way up in the sky, there's another dragon up there. Pretty sure that one's Sea Smoke. Kind of hard to tell. Yeah, we didn't really zoom in enough to really see what was going on, but, you know, we did our best. Let me move this stuff back. I'm pretty sure that was Dreamfire up in the top right. I thought we were seeing the High Towers arriving, which would make it probably Sunfire with Aegon and Aemond, and then you would have Dreamfire with Helena. Dreamfire, by the way, the dragon that's responsible for the most eggs and the most hatchlings that we see. Quite a lot of eggs laid by Dreamfire. There's also been suggestions that Dany's dragons are all Dreamfires. Which would make a lot of sense. We saw a dragon in the pit during episode 6, and it kind of... Oh, I'm sorry, I have to give away a shirt. Jesus, you guys went fast. All right. We're going to do Nightbot here in a second. The dragon that Aemond approached in the pit looked a lot like Drogon, and at first people thought it was this kind of laziness, you know, that the idea that they just reused the model from Game of Thrones and made it look like Drogon and Rhaegal and Viserion, but if it's actually Dreamfire, and Dreamfire is the mother of all those dragons, it would actually make a lot of sense. Yes, no book spoilers. I'm not going to do anything in the books. If you want to look up yourself, you can. All right, so let's go ahead and do a giveaway from my Threadless shop at joemagician.threadless.com. Do keyword Drogon. Type Drogon in the chat if you want to go ahead and win yourself free t-shirt from my Threadless shop. It was really cool seeing all of them. Obviously, we'll see them more of the dragons in close detail, and Sanrixian will lose her mind. I am sure that we're gonna see close-ups and everything. When we get higher res footage, people are gonna kind of figure out exactly which dragon is which. I'm pretty sure it was Dreamfire and Sunfire landing Cyrax beneath them, but you never know. I thought it was a kind of a funny scene because it was sort of like a royal funeral kind of thing where all the rich people show up in like their BMWs and stuff like that. That was kind of the feeling I got, and like they were just parking their dragons and then going inside, that kind of thing. According to the House Dragon Index, Sunfire, Dreamfire, Moondancer are the remaining dragons. Given we've seen Sunfire and Dreamfire, we're going to see Moondancer later. Yeah, we should. Moondancer. If she was there, I didn't see her. Doesn't mean she didn't. I'm sure I'm gonna be corrected on that one at some point. Did my best, but couldn't see him. So we'll roll the giveaway at 10:45. Sounds good. The problem with a lot of the other dragons is they're very small at this point, and most of them can't really bear riders. If Moondancer can, it's just barely. It's just barely. We know Vermax can't. Arax definitely can't. They're all new hatchlings, so that's kind of how it went. Yeah, it was kind of like Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket or something. All their private jets coming in and stuff like that. that was definitely the vibe with all the dragons. I thought it was interesting though that they didn't really show us any of the riders and their dragons. They were all really zoomed out. You couldn't really tell who they were. No Moondancer according to Sanrixian. I didn't see it at all. I don't even think she could be ridden at this point. It's quite a few years away. Notice sparks when Vhagar landed. Vhagar did a lot of things. So then we go to the outdoor wake party thing. Okay, so this is the part that really threw me, and I'm guessing I'm not the only one. Oh, other silly hat time. You guys are crushing it on the likes. Thank you so much. I don't know what to do for the next one, but if you enjoy the channel, you enjoy the discussion, hit the like button, subscribe. We got another silly hat. I don't have any more silly hats at this point. It's just this one. So yeah, the thing that confused me, and for people that were watching a lot of pre-production, it probably confused you too. All the footage from the wake outdoor party thing in order to until later is all shot in bright sunlight. But they all the silly hats just stepped on top of each other, just one after another going to the ceiling. The thing that really threw me is they just darkened the footage to make it look like they were going into twilight and then they were going into night. But there were way too many visual artifacts that just kind of let you know that it was still bright out, that the actors and it was really just like a very dark color grade they dropped on top of it. And I don't know about anybody else. It kind of bothered me a little bit. Like I wasn't super happy about it. Like there's that one point where Eamon looks up into the sky and you hear Vhagar and she's roaring in the clouds, but he shields his eyes. But visually and he like squints, but it's supposed to be nighttime or twilight at that point. And you could sort of see like through their hair, through their wigs, the light colored wigs, you could see the light coming through, which wouldn't happen if it was actually dark. Lots of shadows and stuff like that, and everything was still kind of shiny. They didn't like go in and remove any of that. And yeah, it was especially glaring when like Rhaenyra said, "Go to bed, kids," and then Viserys is like, "I'm going to bed." I'm like, it's still bright out. What are you guys doing? It still looks like day. It was kind of like you're just wearing sunglasses. They did do a lot of visual effects, like putting in the stars and the moon and stuff like that, trying to make it look like it was just a really bright night. But yeah, it didn't convince me, and I didn't think it was very good. It wasn't. It's not just okay. I don't mind that it was a dark episode. It just kept throwing me because my brain just kept going. It's daytime. They're in daytime. It's just weirdly dark for some reason. That's my whole darkness complaint. There were some things that were hard to see, like with Vhagar and Aemond, and a little bit of the sex scene, but otherwise it was just like I just couldn't turn off my brain going like they're in bright daylight. They're in bright daylight. Like you can see the sun, you can see the hair, the light through their hair and stuff like that. I don't know. It was just it was bothersome to me. Which was strange because I didn't really have a problem with many of the other like visual shots throughout the season so far. Like the CGI has been awesome. I mean, everything's been darkly color graded with yellows and stuff like that, but not hard to see. It was just like atmospheric. This was like the first one where I was like, okay, this isn't very good. this is not great. Oh, super chat here from Lefrenic 5A. I think that's Australian dollars. Thank you so much for the super chat. This episode and the last one, we need to stop thinking Miguel as just a battle director. Yes, this one was directed by Miguel Sapochnik himself. He really did prove himself. He did a great job filming the little interactions and creating good pacing and the drama between two characters. I mean, they did have a little battle sequence, but no battle of the bastards. Well, actually, there kind of was the battle of the bastards. Helena is Bug Girl. Yeah, I thought Miguel did really good this episode. I mean, it's not his fault. There was a very dark color grade, and I didn't even really understand it at times. For most of the episode, it did not have to be at night. They could have just been like, skip forward now into nighttime. They could have done most of the wake scene while it was still the daylight. It obviously was. Also, super chat from Robert Daniel Pickard, $5. Thank you so much. The hat intensifies. Been enjoying catching up with your videos. You're not the only one. I've gotten so many comments on these old videos that I haven't thought about in years. Like, people were going crazy for the Brandon Stark, his Secret Bastards one. That one has gotten like tons of views on it. Lots of people going back and watching the House Strong ones. The Waymar Royce one has gotten a lot of. It's been kind of funny because I can see comments as they come in, like in the YouTube app. It just sort of it does them sequentially. So when I release a new video, they're kind of like, oh, okay, so most of these are about Larys, and I'm like, Brandon Stark's bastards, what? Or watching old streams and stuff like that. Apparently, some people had a real Joe Magician-y week, watching like what must have been like 100 hours of me talking. Bless your hearts for doing it, especially on those old videos where the audio is no good. Oh, that's right, the child actor thing. Oh, okay, just drop that. Don't worry about it. Nothing happened. We're done with we're not done with Waymar. We're done with that video though. Yeah, that's the end of my gripe over the darkness. It was just that it wasn't a good effect. I don't care that it was dark. It just didn't look very good. So the one thing that really stands out about the whole wake scene, I guess is what I'm just going to call it the Lena wake or whatever, is that nobody wants to talk to Rhaenyra. She is getting glares from everybody that's there. Nobody's approaching her. She's standing on her own with Jason Luke. Oh no, with just Jace, because Corlys has basically kidnapped Luke. He's like, my boy, you're gonna be Lord of the Tides one day. Glares from everybody. It was it was awkward. It felt a lot like the episode 3 scene where Rhaenyra walks into the tent and nobody wants to talk to her, even though she's heir. Clearly the whole going to Dragonstone to try to alleviate the whole embarrassment thing for her did not work. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to roll this thing. Let's go ahead and roll the giveaway winner. Al F. Congratulations, Al F. Send me you can DM me on Twitter, at TheJoeMagician, or you can email me at AskJoeMagician.com. I'll send you a code and you can pick up a free shirt from my Threadless shop. Thanks everybody for slamming the like button on that one. Yeah, it was one of the early episodes that they filmed. Parts of it really didn't need to be in darkness, but that's okay. Oh, speaking of my the auto brightness on it was screwing with the camera. And Rhaenyra is feeling the tension, and so are Jason Luke. They're obviously very self-conscious of how Vaemond just spent like 10 minutes calling them out. Jason in particular, he's upset. Like Rhaenyra has this very sweet moment where she's like, go talk to Rhaena and Baela. They just lost their mother. Like, they're having a hard time. They'll appreciate it. And Jace just sort of fires back. He's like, they're not the only ones who are sad right now. And then he's like, why? Oh, no. And Rhaenyra's like, oh, no, don't say it. He's like, what about my father? She's like, shh. Not your father. That didn't happen. Nothing to be sad about. Everything's fine, Jace. Your dad did not just die in a fire. But clearly Jace doesn't believe her. He knows the truth at this point. I have an equal claim to sympathy. He says something, and then Lord Lionel and Sir Harwin, something about the fire. Yeah. Poor little guy. He is feeling the loss of Harwin. He would have anyway, because of their close relationship as his live-in bodyguard, or wherever the hell he is. But Rhaenyra tells him, the Velaryons are our kin and the Strongs are not. And then goes like, look at me, do you understand? And Jace is understandably mad that Rhaenyra is telling him to deny the connection he feels with Harwin, to essentially push down the sadness she's feeling and the anger at Harwin's death, whatever actually happened there. She's not really sure. She's still sort of thinking about it. This entire time, Kristen and Allison are just basically in sync, glaring at Rhaenyra, making her feel real awkward for it. Rhaenys does kind of the same thing. Rhaenyra finds her way over to the bar, I guess, and grabs herself a drink. Rhaenys walks up, glares at her, turns around, and leaves. So nobody is happy to see Rhaenyra. Nothing at all. But there is one person that Rhaenyra is happy to see, and she kind of spends the entire first half of the episode just kind of like doing one of these, like, hey Damon, hey Damon, do you see me? It's me, Rhaenyra. Do you see me? I'm over here. We haven't seen each other for 10 years. 300 likes. I wear both silhouettes at the same time. You got it, Earthruster. If you guys slam the button up to 300 likes, I will attempt to wear these two hats. I don't know how it's gonna go. And you kind of feel for Rhaenyra in a sense, that it is Jace isn't the only one upset at Harwin's loss. Rhaenyra is really feeling distraught at this point, and she sort of, throughout the rest of the episode, sort of latches onto Damon as the guy that will fix all the problems. He's kind of the dragon that got away, I guess, in a sense. She really wants him. It's like a fiery rebound that kind of both of them are on. Both of their lovers, well, in Damon's case, his wife, Rhaenyra's pseudo husband, both just died in terrible fires, and they're both kind of emotionally spinning. And Damon is really all over the place in this one. I was trying to track what he was doing. At times he seemed totally indifferent. Other times he almost seemed like the Joker. And then other times he actually did look genuinely sad and upset at what was happening. Um, Looking forward to see Jace, Luke, and the girls hang out. Oh, they hang out. Damon, yeah, Damon fixes no problems. Damon is chaotic. He will not fix anything in Rhaenyra's life, but it's quite clear that in her vulnerable emotional state and seeing her uncle after so many years has, and kind of the the whole thing with the almost sex that she instead threw at Kristen has really been on her mind ever since she heard Harwin died. But yeah, Damon can't fix a damn thing, and Rhaenyra's silly to think it, but she's not really thinking with her head at this point. She's thinking with her heart, or something else, I guess. Oh, we'll get to the plan, Kilgani. Don't you worry. We're gonna get to the plan. The whole Laenor swap plan. So, oh, hang on. My mouse is about to die. 1 second. Need to plug that baby in. I don't think Damon knew what to feel. On some level, he was annoyed at Lena, but he did say that they were happy enough together. It clearly was nowhere near the relationship he had with Rhea Royce. They fought about things, but they're a married couple. They're not every day is going to be the best one. I would think that Damon probably was genuinely upset at how Lena died, and we saw that in the aftermath when he's walking on the roof. He's talking to his daughters, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of takes after this episode that are sort of like, oh my god, finally Damon and Rhaenyra got together. This is like the OTP. They're finally doing it. And I sort of read it very differently, and I was like, oh no, they have both made a mistake. They are both reeling emotionally, no idea what they're doing, and just kind of latch onto each other with nobody else giving them anything. Oh, hey, Disputed Lands. By the way, did you guys know Disputed Lands released a video today? Yeah, Amanda released a video. We were chatting about it, and she said, which I thought was interesting. So many people have gone back to watch my old House Strong video. That one actually links to her channel because we did that as a collaboration. She did the Duncan the Strong thing. By the way, she came up with that one. A plus. And it links to hers. And she just got flooded with comments of people telling her that she needs to make more stuff, that they miss her content, and I'm one of them. And apparently you guys all peer pressured the Disputed Lands into uploading again. So if somebody could grab the link for that and throw it in there, really great to see her back making stuff. So Viserys is also kind of awkwardly sitting here. He wants to talk to Damon. He wants to talk to Rhaenyra. Doesn't really know what to do. He just kind of sits in the middle, glaring at everybody. Again, this is a weird moment because it really feels like all the characters are together but totally alone. Super chat from TJD18. This is kind of a book spoiler. It's a show spoiler because this doesn't happen in the books. Would be cool if Lena somehow depart Viserys running to King's Landing later in the book timeline. I don't know what they're gonna do with Laenor. Thank you for the super chat. I have no idea. I don't know what they're doing with them. 2 years since the Feud Lands made a video. I don't think has it been 2 years? I don't know. A very short video too, only about 5-6 minutes or something like that. And then we got to the part that really got my mind going. This is the part with Princess Helena. So So everybody after last week, when Helena said the thing about how Eamon will have to lose an eye, was to gain a dragon. We're going to talk about it. This obviously came true in this episode, but it's sort of set the precedent that you have to listen to everything Helena says, that this is not nonsense coming out of her mouth, that she's a dragon dreamer, that like Viserys before her, maybe like Daenerys the Dreamer, maybe like Aegon the Conqueror, that kind of person, that she is seeing the future, that the words that sound like nonsense are actually prophetic statements and future hints for where the show is going. I'm going to make a video about this. I have the script basically ready to go. Going to try and make it tomorrow, if not Tuesday. It is everything and the funny thing is that the show kind of clearly thought that they snuck that one under the rug, that nobody was going to notice the crazy thing about Helena predicting the future. So she's sort of down on the ground wearing her dress, and she's playing with shells and a spider or something like that. And you can sort of hear that she's repeating this one phrase over and over and over again. You see Aegon and Aemond off to the side, just sort of both looking at her going like, what are you doing? And that's more or less how everyone treats Helena. But I wrote down what she said, and it is obviously prophetic. This is extremely prophetic. People that, I mean, at this point, it's barely even a spoiler, that obviously there's going to be a conflict between the two sides. And so here's what she says. Helena says, hand turns loom, full of green, full of black. Dragons, banners, weaving dragons of thread, hand turns loom. And then she starts it over again and she says the same thing. So, clearly this is a reference to the Greens. They name drop them explicitly in this episode. The Greens are the High Tower side. So they're weaving banners, weaving dragons of thread into banners. So there's something about the dragons. It's going to be a thing that they're weaving green and black banners, and that the hand turns the loom. So this is a poetic way of talking about how the sides for war are starting to form, and maybe literally like today. It's quite possible that Helena is repeating it over and over again, because she didn't do this in the last episode. In the last episode, all of her lines were different. She just sort of drops randomly that Aemon's going to have to lose an eye to get a dragon. This is something that has really stuck into her head, and she is thinking about it hard. And it's kind of like, it's almost like incapacitated her in a way. Which I think is supposed to tell you that what she's seeing is something that's deeply upsetting her. But nobody else notices. She's just the weird little girl. She's playing with the spider. She's playing with the shell. Whatever, no big deal. I'm definitely going to do a full video about this one. Yeah, the hand weaving the loom. Yep. They're doing a very House of the Undying style of prophetic stuff coming out of Helena, where if you compare what she said in the last episode to this one, she didn't say exactly what happens, but you can see how what she said became true, but not the details. So, yeah, patch facing it. That's definitely a comparison from the books you can talk about. I think, I'm not sure if I actually thought of it more like the Ghost of High Heart. Because Helene is actually aware of what's going on around her. She's not like Patchface, where it seems like what he's saying is totally random and kind of disconnected from reality. Like in the last episode, Helena watches Aemon comes in, sees him sin, she's the Kingsguard, and before anyone says anything, she just goes, he did it again. So it's not like Patchface, where she has like 2 feet out the door. It's she knows what's going on. Um, Helena seems to see the very near future. I mean, we'll see about that one. I am not sure it's just the near future. Um, oh, hang on a second. I have to edit this thing. I put too many spoilers in it. I'm sorry, everybody, that I spoiled. Let me go ahead and crop that out. I forgot that some people don't watch the episode right away. My bad. That was bad of me. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everyone. 350 people watching. Hello. Yeah, as Senertian said, hit the hit the like button up to 300, and we're gonna go ahead and put on a silly hat. Let's grab a few from YouTube because oh wow, people wrote a lot of things. Anything we haven't talked about so far? Survival. Everyone wants to talk about sea smoke. I didn't slide XZTV. They all noticed Rhaenyra's earrings were blue and red like fire and ice. I didn't, but that's a good call. Let's talk about the ending. The barbecued, subvert expectations. Yep. So this is all Laenor stuff. DJ on YouTube asked what was Helena saying. Sounded like gibberish. Just went over that one. But yeah, she's talking about the Dance of the Dragons that's coming. I checked Patreon real fast. I put up a thing saying people could put stuff there and I'll answer it. I often forget to put that in there. But yeah, if you guys see anything coming up and you're a patron, just drop me a message and I'll always answer it. Egg6 says, do you think Helena doesn't like anyone touching her or just Alicent? I think we're going to find out that Helena is going to be sort of like a, I'm not sure what the right word is. It's going to be like Bran during season 8. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Need some water. I think that Helena is going to be like in season 8 where Bran had a lot of reactions to characters the first time he saw them, particularly Daenerys. As soon as he saw Daenerys, he glared at her and he did not look happy. I think they're going to do the same thing with Helena to foreshadow what happens between her and that character, but also their general future. It seems like Helena has no love for her brothers, doesn't really seem to like Alicent very much. She actually, if you remember from episode 4, when Alicent is having trouble getting a baby to be quiet and it won't stop crying, especially when they're in front of a window. Book readers will understand that reference, that Helena just cried the whole time. So yeah, that one's gonna come up. But yeah, expect a full video about Helena and what she's saying here and how it connects. And the spider in the shell and what she does to it. Whole thing was fascinating. I am all in. It's great when the show just gives me more Dragon Dream content to talk about. Love to see Helena interact with Larys. I can't wait for that one too. So the conversation that's happening on behind this is once again another entry into Aegon sucks as a person. They're really beating that drum really hard. He's just kind of glaring at her and just going like, I can't believe I have to marry her. Apparently that marriage has been set up. This is how they're telling us. He says they have nothing in common, calls her an idiot, but Eamon corrects him. Well, okay, so Eamon doesn't exactly disagree with Aegon's assessment of Helena, that, he doesn't understand her, they have nothing in common, she sort of talks nonsense, but Eamon has a very different take on it. And he says that he would do his duty and marry Helena if he was ordered to, because, it would strengthen the family. It's his duty to the Targaryen family to continue the line, to increase their power. Very, very Robert and Stannis like. That's what I got from that conversation. I was like, Whoa. I didn't know we were gonna get little Stannis here. I guess Aemond is like Stannis with a dragon. What it would be like. Very serious Aemond throughout this whole thing. But then Aegon grabs another drink. He gets really, really drunk. He says that he does have something in common with Helena. They both fancy creatures with long legs, and then goes after a serving woman. So, yeah, Aegon continues to suck out loud. They're doing it on purpose. He's not displaying any characteristics that would make him a good ruler. At worst, he's reminding you of Robert Baratheon. Or I guess at best, reminding you of Robert Baratheon at his worst. Very much just sort of seems like something that's totally disinterested in his future. He is really not going to make a good ruler if he ever becomes one, but of course it's been set up that they're going to push him to the throne, and it's one of those things that I think that works really well in terms of trying to separate the Greens and their arguments for Aegon, and how none of it really has anything to do with him as a person. Otto thinks he's a dipshit. Alicent thinks he's an asshole. Aemon doesn't like him at all. Helena basically ignores him. The only claim that he has to the only reason they're pushing him forward is because of his birth order. Actually, I think Aemon this episode does quite a lot to sort of make the case that, hey, I think I should be king instead of my brother. He tattles on him a bunch of times. He grabs Vhagar, which is, gives him the biggest and most badass dragon in the world at the time, meaning that, if he ever fought Aegon, he could probably win, especially after they grow up. Yeah, it's a good call, Kenny Cross. If anything disappointed me this episode, it was a casual revelation of Aegon's betrothal to Helena after the 100% against those Targ perversions. Yeah, I talked about that in my review a while back, where Otto was totally 100% on board with marrying Aegon to Rhaenyra in order to make sure there was no problem with like the succession. And it was really strange how the Hightowers in particular and Otto was totally willing to overlook the exceptionalism and the sibling incest and stuff like that. But at a drop of a hat, just to spurn Rhaenyra, Alicent has no problem making sure that her two kids end up married and that she's forcing them to do it. Ends up being a running theme for Alicent at this point that, there's not a lot she's not going to do. She has descended into the ugly war, as it were. She's doing things that are just for pursuits of power, and she's starting to lose a lot of any sort of, what's the right word for it? She's starting to lose her sense of like morality and her sense of rightness and the law and justice. She's just doing what helps, and that's kind of only what she wants. Comes up a little bit. So let's skip ahead here. There is a scene with Jace and Rhaena and Baela. Jace doesn't know what to say. He just kind of stands over there sadly, drops his head. His hair's over his eyes like mine was when I was an 18-year-old. Hands up, by the way, if you had that emo little boy haircut at some point in your life. I sure as shit did. My hair falls perfectly to do that to do that one. It was a very little sweet moment. No, you can see that Jace is doing what's expected of him. He's trying to be nice to his cousins. He's trying to offer support, even though he's hurting on the inside. And I think it speaks well of Jace as a character and for his, that's right, Sandrick, saying for compassion. That he has compassion for Rhaena and Baela, and none of the Hightowers do. Well, Helena's doing her own thing with the shell and the spider, so you can't really hold that against her. But Aegon and Aemond have nothing for them. Absolutely nothing. Oh, my old Facebook pics are a disaster. There is this weird moment though, and I really didn't know what to make of this. And you guys in the chat, tell me if you know what the hell is going on there. So, Aemon walks up, and it's while Jace is standing in front of Rhaena and Baela, and the two of them face each other, and Eamon looks like he wants to say something but stops, and he sort of gives this like little nod and like a half frowny face, and then walks away. Jace doesn't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of it. It's a really strange moment where he's showing like almost like empathy and sympathy, which completely he loses in about 20 minutes. Maybe it's just kind of like his idea that he's so committed to his duty that he knows he's supposed to be nice here, that he's supposed to like show something for the kids that just lost their mom, but it doesn't look like he doesn't go through with it. He gives it like his best shot. He's like, "What's it like being a human? Didn't like it. I'm out of here." Something like that. Larys is in love with Alicent. Yes, definitely. Oh, that was something I forgot to mention. Oh, hang on. Do I have it in here? Where do I mention Larys? I skipped over Larys a little bit. So after the spider is killed, we're gonna go back to this a little bit. The camera then cuts to Larys, and he is essentially just doing one of these. He's just smiling like a creep straight at Alicent. Not really sure what he's doing. Kristen doesn't know what he's doing. He actually goes over like a protective boyfriend. He's like, "My lady, Lord Strong has been staring at you this entire time." And the camera pans over and he's still going, "Hey, me Larys, how you doing?" Really funny out of Kristen. Not really sure what Larys is up to. Well, I have an idea. We're gonna save that one for the video. But Alicent tries to brush it off like, "Oh, he's just the new Lord of Harrenhal. That's why he's so happy. That's why he's staring at me." That is not an answer to that question. He looks pretty happy the whole time. He's got a smile on his face for some reason at this wake. Yeah, we'll get to that one later. We'll get to that one in a video. They're doing a lot of interesting things with Larys. Green Seery things. I think that was actually quite a hint to kind of what he thinks about what's going on. Nobody clip me trying to look like Larys. Nobody do it. Absolutely not, Subi says. No. Nobody go back and clip that. Thank you so much for the super chat, $2. Want forgiveness for my Larys sins? No. Hating Larys is a key part of liking Larys. Okay? If you're the kind of person that likes Larys as a character, it is because you also hate him. It is a self-loathing fandom, and you have to embrace it. But yes, thank you, Sanri, for the $2. Oh, this is going a little long. It's the only self-loathing fandom that exists in House of the Dragon. Have to hate him and hate yourself a little bit for it. That's one of the things I thought was really funny about the reactions to my Larys videos is that a lot of people are like, "Wait, he's a piece of shit. He's evil. Why do you like him?" I'm like, that's why. I just scolded a couple hundred people across the world about a House of the Dragon fandom. That's what I just did. So let's skip ahead here. There's a lot going on. We talked about Corlys and Luke already. Rhaenys and Rhaenyra, yeah, that one already happened. Aegon's getting hammered. You hear the dragon roaring overhead. This is letting you know that Vhagar's in the vicinity. Wow, a lot of people just stopped watching at that one. Sorry, everybody. Laenor does something really weird where he just kind of walks out into the waves and just kind of sits there crying in it. You can feel the emotion at the loss of Lena. This isn't really something they've established too much in the show. Lena and Laenor are very, very close, but you haven't really seen it. It hasn't really been on the screen too much. But here, this is how they're showing it. Laenor is devastated at the loss of his sister. Implication is that maybe he's going to try and drown himself. Suicide has been a pretty big part of the show so far. Kristen tried to do it. Lena killed herself. Laenor's thinking about it. There's a really awkward moment where Corlys walks up to Carl. Corey shoves him in the shoulder and says, "Go get your, go retrieve your patron," which was, it's a serious moment, and everyone just kind of glances at Corlys, and Vaemon grabs his shoulder and goes, "Corlys, no," or something like that. But I thought it was kind of written for comedy, because nobody thinks about Rhaenyra. Nobody turns to Rhaenyra and says, "Go get your husband." They're like, "Absolutely not. We're going to Carl Corey. This is the guy that has the ability to go get Laenor." So Carl goes off to go get him. So next comes the conversation between Viserys and Damon. Viserys has been awkwardly looking at Damon this whole time, and he finally gets up. He can walk at this point, which was, I wasn't sure he was going to be able to. Talks to Damon, and says, "Your girls are the very image of their mother, a comfort in anguish, as I well remember the gods can be cruel." And Damon, who's in kind of a trollish shithead move, says back, "Seems they've been especially cruel to you." Which is a not nice thing to say back, but it's also kind of a brotherly thing. You know, they have this relationship where they rib each other. It's kind of a high tide, low tide kind of thing. You know, sometimes they're fighting, sometimes they're not. And Viserys instead just kind of laughs at it. Dane McKay, one YouTuber liked your layers video so much he made the exact same video. Really? Which YouTuber made my video? I would like to see that. I'm going to be unhappy if somebody actually just ripped it off. Viserys makes the case that, you know, it's been 10 years. Things can blow over. Come back to King's Landing. Come back home. Obviously, he's recognizing that Damon's hurting. And he's trying to offer him a place back at court, a place back in his life. And Damon refuses him, saying, you know, Pentos is my home and that of my children. Viserys says, "Damon, let the years pass. You have a place in my court if you need anything." And then Damon just kind of goes, "I need nothing." And it's the same sort of thing that happened in the Stepstones, where Damon read the letter from Viserys that he was sending help, and Damon basically tries to commit suicide on Bloodstone by charging in and doing that crazy plan to beat Kragas Crabfeeder. And he does the same sort of thing here. He looks to be on the verge of tears. This is the first moment that Damon is having a lot of trouble dealing with his emotions at the moment. He's kind of seesawing all over the place. Somebody offering him genuine emotional support and trying to be the brother to him that Viserys hasn't been in a long time. Actually, this causes him pain. To know you're the guy that made those last two videos? Yes, I'm the one that came up with and made the videos about the Laris theory. The Laris Green Seer thing. You can check them out on the channel after the stream, though. They're good. I think. At least one of them's pretty good. And you can tell that Damon's pretty hurt. As he walks away, Otto stops him and says, you know, "I'm sorry for your loss, my prince." And Damon just sort of stops, glares at him, and says, "No matter how fat a leech grows, it always wants for another meal," and just storms off again. At this point, Rhaenyra kind of re-enters the story, sees Daemon goes away, and goes like, "Oh, hey. Daemon's upset. Time to go after him." And that's what she does. After she sends her kids to bed. Again, I had the problem with it where I was just like, it's not nighttime, Rhaenyra. Like, I know that's what the line says, but the effect isn't very good. It's clearly not nighttime. Yeah, they need a lot of therapy. There's also a really, really weird moment where Viserys says he's going to bed too, and Harold Westerling, he asks about who's going to take the Night's Watch, if he's going to watch over Alicent for the night. Viserys says no, and Christian instead gets stuck with the job, and he looks pissed about it. It didn't really go anywhere. I wasn't really sure what that moment was about. If anybody knows why that was included and what that means, throw it out there. It doesn't. I didn't get it. I watched it back a few times. I guess this is the right time to mention it that I am now getting the screeners from HBO, so I get to see the episode early. I watched that back like 4 times, and I was just like, what is this interaction between Harold and Kristen? It's like, is it just that they're mad at each other? Does Harold hate him? Is this like a crappy job or something? I don't really know what it was. Yeah. Rhaenyra sent her kids to bed early so that she could go have some beach sex, apparently. Let's see here. So then we see Aegon passed out drunk. Otto basically hits him and drags him up the stairs, so Aegon continues to be a fuck up. Carl brings Laenor back from the ocean. It's a weird scene. Don't really know what's going on there. Yep, I am important enough to be able to see the episode early, so I'm not gonna tell anybody any spoilers. I'll lose them anyway if I do, but yeah. They only send them out for the week ahead, so I have no idea what's in the future episodes. I got this one though. Kristen and Harold on opposite sides. It has to be that's all that is, because I didn't really get it. They were just like, we need these two to have conflict, so we're gonna make it over something stupid like who's taking the Night's Watch. Trying to buy my opinion with access. Yeah, good luck with that one. If they were trying to buy my opinion with access, I wouldn't have spent 10 minutes talking about how I thought it was too dark and a bad thing. So good luck. Good luck with that opinion. Oh my god. Okay, hat stack time. 300 likes. There we go. So let's see here. Sparing 2 ads. I guess this is what we're doing. I don't even know if we get to 400 likes. I don't know what's going to happen then. Things are just going to go insane. I need to pick this up because we are nowhere through this episode, and I want to end it at midnight. So, okay, so then we go to inside and we see Rhaenys and Corlys talking about, and they have an argument about Lena's death, and Rhaenys basically throws it at Corlys' feet and says that this was your fault. Lena is dead for your ambition. That your decision that you want to get this crown for my head is not about me, and it's not about Lena, it's not about Laenor, it's about you, Corlys. That your pride has led to the death of your daughter by marrying her off to a loveless marriage with Daemon Targaryen, who cares not for anyone but himself, just because you want to be closer to the royal family. And Corlys fires back, and he goes like, yeah, but isn't the family name the only thing that matters? And Rhaenys says back, no, our daughter's more important. They also talk about the fact that obviously everybody knows that Rhaenyra's kids are Harwins. Nobody believes that they're Laenor's. And the hat stack is ridiculous. This is just insane. I can't believe I'm doing this. And Corlys defends the decision and basically says that it's the line from the it's actually 2 lines from the teasers. He says, what is this brief mortal life if not the pursuit of legacy? And history does not remember, blood remembers names. Corlys, aware that none of those kids are his blood, and he's like, I don't care. I want the Velaryon name on the Iron Throne. It doesn't matter. The costs don't matter. He does not apologize for. He seems kind of sad about his role in Lena's death, but he's not willing to give it up. He's gonna push through no matter what. Why the turtle? Because it's supposed to be George R. R. Martin's hat. He wears a purple turtle on his thing. I couldn't find one, so I bought a green one. All right, so now we're getting to the sea shanty sex. I guess that's what we're gonna call it. Um, Damon and Rhaenyra are walking on the beach. They talked about how Rhaenyra mostly talks. She talks about how she made an effort to maintain appearances. Didn't work. Absolutely not. Didn't work. Um, how her marriage was a farce. How Harwin's dead. She actually reveals that her and Lenor did try to conceive. This is a difference from the books, where it's nobody thinks they ever had sex, or that they tried to have kids. It comes up again, but yes, Rhaenyra and Lenor did try. It just didn't work. Um, she says there was no joy, then looks at Damon. She says it felt good to be desired, talking about Harwin. And I think that's kind of a lie here. I don't think her relationship to Harwin was based on being desired. I think it was clear from the last episode, that quite clear that her and Harwin did have an emotional connection that went beyond just being desired by a handsome dude. That it did break her heart to send away Harwin. Although you could see how that kind of worked. It's kind of like a reverse Aegon situation with like Visenya and Rhaenys, where Harwin is clearly Rhaenyra's Rhaenys, and Laenor is the Visenya in the relationship. One of them for love, one of them for duty. They go through it, and we finally get to the answer of why Damon claims that he didn't go through with it with Rhaenyra, that she was too young, that he felt guilty about it. He says that you were a child, and she's like, "You abandoned me." He's like, "Yeah, because you were a kid. This wasn't a good thing to do." Even though he totally did offer to marry her to Viserys a little bit later. Um, it's actually a lot of good dialogue, but the long and the short of it is they end up making out, and then they find a weird boat thing, and then go have sex in the darkness. I don't know. This was distinctly not as good of a sex scene as the ones from episode 4. Um, there is a lot more tension in it, and I guess it helps that you could see it. With with the one with Millie Alcock and Matt Smith, but this one felt a lot less like a lot less like Rhaenyra and Damon previously, or even Rhaenyra and Kristen. Like, none of that passion was there. I felt it was a lot more like the Alicent and Viserys scene, where she's just kind of staring at the ceiling. Because that ended up being kind of the look on Emma Darcy's face. Um, there was some excitement to it, and like sort of the satisfaction of doing this thing she's been thinking about for 10 years, but she was just kind of like looking over Damon's shoulder, just like staring up at the boat thing. Um, it felt a lot more like probably the sex she had with Laenor than the one she had with Harwin. And this is kind of what I was getting at earlier. I was talking about how it felt like Rhaenyra is latching on to Damon as a way to try to fill the hole in her heart, and to try and get over the loss she's feeling. And she sort of idolized Damon into this person he's not, and just sort of being like, yeah, this isn't this isn't what she dreamed it was. Um, I interpret it as, I wasn't going to ruin your rep because you were a kid. They talked about this in the after the episode of that episode of episode 4, that in the writer's mind, Damon stopped because he wasn't into it and he felt guilty about it. Which was kind of interesting take. So while this is all happening, you cut to Aemond, and he is also out on the beach at night. He has snuck out of the castle. Vhagar has apparently just hunkered down on somewhere nearby on another beach on Driftmark, and is sleeping. Aemond runs up. You can't really see anything, but you can hear Vhagar. It sounds like she's roaring, but it's actually she's snoring. Apparently dragons snore like thunder. Um and it's kind of funny. It was almost like a Pokemon trainer. Um, where he's like sitting there with a Pokeball. He's getting ready to go. He's looking at like the Dragonite that's over there. He's like, shit, I got one Pokeball. Man, I gotta do it. And he runs up to Vhagar. She's totally asleep, not even faking. He grabs the ropes, and Vhagar instantly gets up and looks over. So I'm guessing the ropes have been there for quite a while. This is how Lena ended up getting up onto Vhagar's side, because she is enormous. She is like double the size of a T-Rex, just an enormous beast. It's like a building laying on the beach. Um, but it's interesting what happens, because Vhagar does the same thing that we saw during Game of Thrones. The shorthand for the dragons, I guess, checking for Valyrian blood. Vhagar kind of gives a big sniff and goes like, "Oh, yeah, you're one of those weird people that likes to ride me sometimes. Okay, I won't kill you, but, just leave me alone. I'm sleeping." Big granny energy on that one. Like, go back to bed, you shit. I don't have time for this. But Aemon's not going to be denied, and he goes back and he grabs it again, and Vhagar is now pissed. She turns her head back and opens her mouth and is about to roast Aemon alive, which is, I made a thread about how no dragons have hurt any riders that have ever tried to claim them, and apparently Vhagar got close, because she was like half a second from killing Aemon for trying to ride her. But instead, what happens, which I thought was really interesting, is that Aemon, who had previously been sort of shown as a little bit of like a kind of a crybaby, like a little bit of a wimp, that kind of stuff. But he also showed great bravery when we went down to the dragon pit, and he finds that bravery again, and instead gives commands to Vhagar to obey. And she sort of thinks about it for a second. She's listening. This is kind of a callback to what happened with Lena, when she's telling Vhagar to burn her alive, and Vhagar's thinking about it, thinking if she's going to obey. And she's like, all right, you're trying. Let's see what you got, kid," and does not kill him. Lets him climb up onto the saddle, basically giving him a tryout. She's like, okay, all right, Aemon, let's see what you got. Let's see if you can hang on. And takes off and starts soaring through the sky. It looks like she's going full speed, which is impressive considering she's Granny Vhagar, who just woke up, and very much tries to it seems like very much trying to shake him off. She's going from side to side. She does a steep climb. She goes back down. She hits the water, and Aemon barely holds on. He's like yelling the entire time. And there's actually there was a really funny scene during it. I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but when Vhagar was climbing, you see Aemon, and he's holding on by like two ropes, and his like feet are going out straight behind him, and he's screaming. And I was like, I have seen this scene in so many different like movies and TV shows, um, where it's usually played for comedy. It was another thing where I was like, oh, I guess we're doing funny stuff now. Um, Yeah, that's right, Sanry. Vhagar definitely made him earn the ride. Um, and he pulls it off. He's stays on the harness. He manages to get into a good position, and he is incredibly excited. He's having the time of his life. Not so sure about Vhagar. She seems a little annoyed, but she's going for it. Um, all right, calm down, gaming with this guy. Like, give it a break. Um, So the thing that happens next is that Baela and Reyna look out the window, and they see all this happening, and for some reason they run and get Jace and Luke, and I'm like, oh my god, somebody stole Vhagar. I don't know why they think Jace and Luke can do anything about this. I don't really know what's going on there. I think it's just sort of a plot thing. If I were them, I would probably gone to get like anybody else other than them. Um, Don't really know what's going on there. And then we also see that Damon has left Rhaenyra after their sandy sex scene, if that's what you can call it, their sexual encounter, and he's watching Vhagar and trying to figure out who's riding it, because he's kind of putting it together like, oh shit, Vhagar's like enormous. I can't believe somebody's riding. Um okay, so you're just gonna get a little bit of timeout. Um Vhagar lands, and we get the big scene with Eamon losing his eye. So this is an important one. Vhagar just kind of crashes to drop him off back at home. She's like, "Yeah, get off, go back into your bed. Like, we're done with this." And Eamon walks in and going back into the bedroom or whatever, and there's a really weird argument about this. I know Learning Hands is going to talk about this, like who owns a dragon after the rider dies. Rhaena and Baela basically say, Vhagar is my mother's dragon. She was mine to claim. Eamon says back, well, your mother's dead. Vhagar has a new rider. Then you should have claimed her. And they end up shoving each other, and it sort of devolves into a pretty big brawl between the four kids. He calls, I think he calls Baela a pig. It's clear here that after having picked up Vhagar, that Eamon is really feeling himself, that he has I'm taking that thing off. It just keeps like bouncing around in my head, and I can feel it, and it's bothering me. I don't have the correct balance skills to have two hats on my head without feeling it. Jace attacks. For some reason, he brought a dagger. I don't know why he brought a dagger. I don't know what he was doing with it. It's very much that it feels like there's been a lot of talk in the promo material that the dragon and the rider are like one and the same, and how it's kind of a big deal that they sort of like share souls in a sense, that they can feel each other. Like when Damon was on Dragonstone, and Otto drew his swords, Craxus just kind of gets up and comes out, sort of feeling Damon's anger. And I'm guessing that's sort of what's going on here, that Eamon is really feeling, maybe he's feeling like Vhagar's personality kind of pushing into him, and it comes out. He's much more savage. The kid that tried to show empathy before is gone. He's threatening to feed people to Vhagar. He sort of turns into like a little Visenya or a little Maegor kind of out of nowhere. It doesn't have to be magical. It can just be that he's sort of exhilarated at what just happened, but it turns him into an asshole, like a gigantic bully. The whole fight progresses. It's a bunch of little kids throwing fake punches at each other. The one thing that ends up happening, though, is after Eamon gets knocked down, he picks up a rock and he hits Jace with it, and he like picks up Luke by the neck like he's about to choke slam him or something like that, and he's holding the rock, and it's clear that he's gonna probably kill somebody, or he's gonna try to, and Jace does the old pocket sand, just like full on, just throws sand in his face. It's like sand attack from Pokemon. And Eamon does the, oh no, sand in my eyes, I can't see anything. Luke grabs the dagger and just slashes him across the face. So this is the start of Eamon One Eye. Helena's prophecy definitely comes true. I think it is interesting that we do see that it is explicitly the Velaryons, all four of them, that start this fight. They're angry about Vhagar being ridden by someone else. Eamon antagonizes them back, but they initiate the physical contact. They start attacking Eamon. He was defending himself, but he also was pushing them. He was being an ass back. So, nobody's blameless in this one, but when we get to the further scene where they talk about who started it, the Velaryons did start it. It's very different from the dragon pit scene we saw earlier from episode 6, I think, where Jace gives the order to to Vermax to, Dracarys, the goat or whatever, to eat it. And everyone's like giving him a pat on the back. They're giving him high fives. Nobody's happy for Aemond. They're there looking for a fight. Aemond did take the dragon, but he didn't start it. He definitely escalated, but that's kind of how it goes. Nobody's looking good in this fight. There's broken noses. Jace is bleeding. The rules of inheritance don't matter to dragons, basically. I just think it's important to look back and consider how this compares to Jace and the Dragon Pit. Like, clearly nobody's happy for Aemond about this, and I wonder if in a different context they would have been. But it's specifically that Baela and Rhaena are angry about Vhagar being ridden, that they feel it's sort of like grave robbing their mother in a sense that this conflict happens. I expected to come out of this one thinking that Aemond was totally at fault, and they wrote it and they scripted it in a way so that you can see both sides on it. Both, it was both of their faults. It was, good one, Mallory. So also the Kingsguard comes in. I guess they don't do anything. This fight went on for a little bit, and nobody noticed that the kids were out of bed. Nobody noticed the fight was going on and all the screaming. All three of them show up like, what the hell? What are you guys doing fighting? It's like, I don't know. Isn't this your job, Kingsguard? Why aren't you doing anything about this? It's actually funny that Viserys asked Criston about it and he doesn't have an answer. Harold Westerling ends up having to break up the fight, I think, which is strange because he's not on Night Watch, apparently. Don't really know what happened there. So we go to the Hall of Nine, and there's the whole big conflict, and Viserys wants to know what happened. Nobody's saying what's happened. We hear from the Maester that, it's going to heal, but Aemon has clearly lost the use of his eye. His eye is closed to get a dragon. Alicent is freaking out. Kind of crazy what's going on here. Apparently, the weird thing about this whole sequence is that at first I thought it was just the family. And then they zoom out and you see the entire court and the castle is woken up and they've come to see the drama. You got to appreciate that about the King's Landing nobles. They know good drama when they see it. They're not going to miss out on whatever the hell this is. Yeah, Criston was in charge of the Night Watch. Apparently, he's not doing his job. I don't know what he's doing. Where was Criston? That he doesn't know that three of the princes and both the Velaryons have run away in the night. Not doing a good job there, Crispy. So let's see here. They go back and forth. Aemon says he was attacked. They say he attacked Baela. We just kind of went over this. Yeah, the Velaryons attacked first. Aemon fought back. Everything was escalated. It was awful. The weird thing is that Damon's is sort of in the background, just going like, cool. This is fun to watch. I'm enjoying this dramedy that's going on in front of me. The thing that really escalates is that Alicent takes it from a fight between a bunch of kids, and then she calls it an ambush and claims that they were there to kill Aemond. I mean, like, Jace did have a dagger, but they didn't know Aemond did it. They don't know who took the dragon. It was kind of crazy for him to do, but it was, they weren't there to, like, kill anybody, I don't think. And the mothers just keep ratcheting up the problem. Rhaenyra fires back and says, no, her sons were attacked. They had to respond to Aemond, and also that vile lies were levied. Vile insults, which I don't know if I would have said that one, Rhaenyra. That one doesn't go over well for you. And it starts the whole chain of events, and we get the thing about how Viserys finally has to deal with, the fact that everybody knows that none of these kids are Laenors. Everybody knows they're Harwins. And he just kind of freaks out. This is the most angry I think we've seen Viserys about anything. He's screaming at everybody. He's yelling at Aemond. He's like, tell me the truth. What really happened here? He's telling Alicent to shut up. Things aren't going good. The one thing that I did find really interesting about all this is Aemond totally sells out Aegon out of nowhere, where Viserys asks him, where did you hear these vile lies about your nephews? I think they're his nephews at this point. And Aemond just sort of says Aegon did. And Aegon's like, oh, what the hell, man? What did I do to you? Yeah, I don't think it was smart by Rhaenyra to bring that one up. This was not when she wanted to have that argument, but she kind of had to keep ratcheting up the stakes. And I guess to change the argument away from, what was Jace doing there with a knife? That was kind of weird. And it sort of seems like things are going to calm down. Viserys is like, all right, everybody stop this. We're not doing this anymore. I'm going to rip out the tongues of anybody that says, that repeats this vile lie about Rhaenyra and her sons. And Alicent just like goes to the moon and says, Viserys says, like, we're family, make your apologies. And Alicent says that's insufficient. Aemond has been damaged permanently. And she turns to Rhaenyra and says, I shall have one of her son's eyes in return, and orders Criston Cole to go cut out this eye of one of the princes, Luke's basically. And I understand that she's upset that Aemond lost an eye, and this is a tense moment, and blood's running hot, but holy shit, she orders one of the Kingsguard to go cut out the eye of Luke Velaryon. Wow. She is really gone at this point. Alicent is not here. Somebody else has replaced her. This is the craziest thing that I have heard from any character on House of the Dragon. Even Criston is really taken aback by it. And he's like, I don't want to do this. And Alicent's like, you're sworn to me. You are my sworn shield. And Criston, in one of his few moments of not being a shithead in the last few episodes, says that, as your protector, my queen, meaning that he's not going to maim a child for her, which is different from the future Kingsguard. I don't think Joffrey Baratheon's Kingsguard would have any problems like that. They're like, all right, fine. I'm going to cut out an eye. I'm going to go cut out an eye. Like Boros Blunt would have been on Luke before a word got out of Rhaenyra's mouth. He'd been like, yeah, fine, whatever, man. Job's a job. It's like this is the line for Criston Cole. Completely snapped. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Subi says completely snapped. Viserys is like, absolutely not. Nobody move. We're not doing this. But Alicent is apparently all in. She grabs the dagger out of Viserys's bathrobe, which I thought was kind of a choice. Like, everyone got out of bed, so I guess Viserys always has his dagger on him. Like, if he has to get up in the night to go take a piss or something like that, he takes his dagger with him. I guess that's what we're supposed to believe about this, because he went to bed hours ago. But she grabs the dagger, unsheaths it, and goes straight at, it looks like, I couldn't tell if it was Rhaenyra or Luke, but whatever one it doesn't matter. Rhaenyra grabs her arm, and Alicent is like going full on, I'm going to kill somebody with this dagger. Craziness out of Alicent. She's going to murder one of the princes or Rhaenyra in front of the entire court. I actually was kind of like, what the hell, Alicent? Not really sure. Not sure what's going on there. I don't know. From earlier in the scene, I didn't get the sense that Alicent was about to try and cut out a child's eye. But maybe it's the fact that she kind of lost the argument and Viserys was shouting about it, that he wasn't defending the kids, that really pushed her over the edge. I don't really know. I need like an after an episode to explain this one to me. She went crazy with it. And it's not just that she went crazy, it's that everyone knows that she's doing something wrong. You see Harold Westerling like doing swim moves through the crowd to try and get towards them. Even Kristen goes running for it. But this was actually the part of it that was like, all right, Damon is starting shit, because I don't know if you noticed, Kristen is running to get to Alicent and Rhaenyra. I'm assuming he's going to try and separate them, because otherwise, I don't know what he's doing. If he wanted Rhaenyra to get hurt, all he had to do was stand there. But Damon stops Kristen, body blocks him, and then 2 Velaryon guards grab him from behind. I don't know what Damon's doing. I don't know why he's stopping Kristen. Maybe he's worried that Kristen's like charging through the crowd to go cut out an eye or something like that. I think Damon just wanted to see what was going to happen, because that's basically what he's been doing the entire episode. He's like, ooh, I'm enjoying the drama. Oh, hey, AK. Alicia Kingston in the chat. Yeah, we're going a little late. There was a lot of this episode. Don't really know why Damon stopped him. It has to be just to increase the drama. I don't really know why he's doing it otherwise. And then we get some really, really good dialogue. And this is something that I thought was a real strength of the episode, is that the dialogue almost felt like a play. It felt like Shakespearean. They really upped the diction on a lot of the characters. It made them sound very different from the way they did in previous episodes. Like they put a lot of effort into every one of these lines. Like I would guess that they started with these lines and then wrote the episode around it. So here's what Alicent says at first. What have I done except what was expected of me? Forever upholding the kingdom, the family, the law, while you flout your duties. Where's duty? Where's sacrifice? Trampled under your pretty foot again. And then Otto being a good guy, says like, release the blade, Alicent. Like, holy shit, do not kill Rhaenyra in front of everybody. Assume Damon thought Cole would help Alicent? I guess. I thought it was just the drama. And then, let's see here. Where was I? Alicent then goes on, and now you take my son's eye, and even to that you feel entitled. You see what I mean? This doesn't sound like normal Game of Thrones lines. This feels like some like a classic play or something like that. I would be curious if this is a reference to something, because it doesn't sound like normal TV dialogue. It doesn't even sound like normal House of the Dragon dialogue. They put a lot of effort into it. And then Rhaenyra, they're holding each other, like she's holding her hand back, the dagger's right here, and Rhaenyra says, exhausting, wasn't it, hiding beneath the cloak of your own righteousness, but now they see you as you are. And then Alicent just like gets the crazy look in her eyes again, and she brings down the dagger and slashes Rhaenyra just straight across the arm. Blood is just spurting everywhere. She drops the dagger. Finally, everything stops, and then Aemon kind of ends the situation, and he says a very intriguing line, and I think this is one we're going to remember for a while, and I think it's going to get a lot of analysis from the community in general. It says, do not mourn me, mother. It was a fair exchange. I may have lost an eye, but I gained a dragon. So, I posted this on Twitter. This is obviously a reference to Brynden Rivers, but in a more general sense, this is quite clearly they're referencing the Norse god Odin, the idea that he gave up one of his eyes to the god of wisdom, I think it is Mimir, and in exchange, he gained all these magical powers. He gained wisdom. He gained the ability to know things that he shouldn't and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of what George is drawing on here. Or not George is drawing on. This is what, he designed the character, so that's what he's drawing on. But the line here is very much talking about that kind of um, the giving up the eye for power, very much calling back to Odin. And again, the diction is very different. Like you compare that back to what Aegon was saying about Helena, and it seems like a different show. And this again continues the idea that we've been seeing from Aemon, that after grabbing Vhagar, after riding Vhagar, he seems like a totally different person. I don't think that this is something Aemon would have said before he grabbed Vhagar. It's a very good line. Aemon is coming off as a villain in this episode, but this sounds like something Euron Greyjoy would say. I would expect to see this in like a future version of Forsaken. It's a very good line. Do not mourn me, mother. It was a fair exchange. Oof. Perfect. Love it. Really good. I mean, Aemon's the worst, but even bad characters can have really good lines. There's also a weird scene afterwards where Kristen is sort of standing behind Alicent, and you can sort of get the feeling that he sees himself as Alicent's husband, that Viserys is not her husband, that much like Rhaenyra, she has split her heart and her body, I guess. That Kristen is kind of her emotional husband. Oh, is that also in the book? It was a really good line if it was in the book. Did Vhagar influence Lena into marrying Damon? Good question, Mallory. I don't know, but if we're believing that it's a two-way street between a dragon and the person, you can assume that maybe Lena went through a personality change after grabbing her dragon too. And then there's the scene between Otto and Alicent. This is a pretty good one. Where Alicent is sort of like, holy shit, what did I just do? I just slashed at the princess. I tried to take out a kid's eye. Like, this was horrible. I should never do this. This was a bad thing. I'm Alicent Hightower. This isn't who I am. And Otto's like, I never knew this is what you like. Oh my God, that was great, Alicent. I didn't know you had it in you. It's like, oh no, dude. This is the first time you're rewarding Alicent for her behavior, and it's when she tried to kill somebody in front of the entire court. Holy shit. Otto is 100% on board for the war that's coming. Call back to Helena, where she said the hand turns the loom. Otto is turning the loom here. He is encouraging Alicent that she didn't go far enough. That she wants more, that she should want more. Terrible, terrible parenting out of Otto. Yeah, not great. She calls it an ugly thing and I regret it, and Otto says back, we play an ugly game. But for now, for the first time, I see you have the determination to win it. You see her for what she is, what the king's stubbornness has wrought. He will forgive you. What else can you do? Be patient, plead the injury, keep a grip on his passions, and I promise you in time we will prevail. What that rogue Aemon has done, winning Vhagar to our side, the boy was right. It was worth 1,000 times the price he paid. Which, by the way, if Aemon's price, the price of Vhagar is 1,000 times what Aemon paid. So isn't that 1,000 eyes in one? Very clever reference there from the writers. A dragon is worth a blood raven, which is kind of interesting. Oh, thank you, Morley. $50. What an incredible episode. Yeah, it was a very good episode. Not my favorite, but there were a lot of highlights to it and a lot of lowlights. But thank you very much. Appreciate it. Then we get a really gross scene where they're stitching up Rhaenyra. I don't know why they showed us it in such gross detail. You could see the open wound, and then they're sewing it shut. You can see the skin coming through. I didn't really like that one. And then Lena shows up. He's like, hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Laenor Velaryon. Did I miss something? Something big happened? Yes, Laenor, you missed something. You missed something big. Kind of stuff happened. And there's a really good conversation here between the two of them where this is like, they sort of had a frank conversation in the last episode about like what they owe each other, how their marriage has gone, and they're actually honest here. And Laenor acknowledges that his his these children are not his, but he is not going with Carl Corey. He's not going to the Stepstones. He's going to stay here and he's going to make it work. He's going to prepare the princes to rule. He will be their dad even if he's not their father. And Rhaenyra kind of looks at him a little funny, and at one point they start laughing, which kind of came out of nowhere. Laenor said, "We made an arrangement to our duty yet explore happiness." They both laugh. The awkward part is, of course, that Rhaenyra has basically committed to trying to marry Daemon at this point. That was the whole point of their talk, is that she was saying, well, your wife is dead. I don't really like my husband. We like each other. Doing one of these at Daemon. So I think it's clear that Rhaenyra was going to try and break up with Laenor here as much as she could, but Laenor comes in and just says the opposite. He's like, I am here for you until my last day. I will be the perfect husband, the one you haven't had. A little awkward with considering how recently she banged Daemon on the beach. Here's the line about it. It's actually a really good one. John McMillan did a really good job as Laenor in the short time they've given him. There are times when I do not think these two... he says, we made an arrangement to do our duty, explore happiness. Look, love is the death of duty. That one came up again. Lara said that last time. There are times when I do not think these things can coexist. To recall returning, but I recommit myself to you and our house as we prepare for your ascension. Raise our sons to be princes of the realm. You deserve better than I have been. You deserve a husband. Awkward. Awkward for Laenor. Sorry about that one, bud. You are about like 6 hours too late. Show us your Pokemon? Oh. The one's behind me? Kind of all over the place. Got a Dragonite, a Bulbasaur, the Arcanine down there. I guess those are my Pokemon for 350 likes. Thank you guys for slamming the like button. We're almost at the end of the stream. Don't worry. My voice is still holding up. I only cracked a few times because apparently I'm still going through puberty. Yeah, Rhaenyra, that's a good call, Maxim Howard. Rhaenyra is really funny in this episode. She showed this off in episode 4, I believe, when she's making fun of the lords. She does have a good wit, and she has a good way of turning phrases. All right. There you go. Dragonite. My first love is a dragon. Little Bulbasaur over there. I haven't thought this. It's been a while since I got 350 likes on a video. Holy shit, it's 460 people watching. So let's see here. Where were we? Laenor also talked, has a very good line, and Rhaenyra actually shows back that she does care about him. Laenor hangs his head and says, I hate the gods for making me as they did. Obviously, he's talking about how him being gay has impacted their marriage and how has sort of made a mess of their lives. And Rhaenyra says back, I do not. You are an honorable man with a good heart, and it's a rare thing. Which was kind of a very sweet line coming back. You know, that they don't hate each other. This isn't like Cersei and Robert. It's just that things have not worked out the way that they wanted. You know, they wanted to have at least one kid, and then they could just sort of do whatever they want. And there's sort of been a failure on both sides, but you know, it just, their arrangement, the gamble they made didn't work. And you can see how it's torn up Alicent, how it's torn up both Laenor and Rhaenyra. So let's see here. Everyone's going back home. Alicent gives the king wine to help him sleep. I'm sure that won't come back in any way together. And you can sort of see that there's just a lot of pride going on with Rhaenyra and Viserys and Corlys. None of them want to admit what went on with Harwin, and they're basically going to ride or die the lie that they're Velaryons, kind of no matter what. Kristen took the dagger. He must have given it back. There's no way he would keep it. We see the dragons taking off while Damon and Rhaenyra are standing on Driftmark. You see Vhagar flying away with Aemond on it. Vhagar is enormous, like 3 times the size of that boat. All the other dragons look tiny next to it. You also see what looks like Sunfire and Dreamfire flying away. And we get an interesting cut to... well, okay, these are happening side by side, but they're positioning the two characters for Rhaenyra and Alicent to do sort of the same thing. Rhaenyra has chosen Daemon over Laenor in her heart, basically, and as we're gonna see, literally. And in the same way, Alicent chooses Larys over Criston Cole, and both of them are kind of abandoning the sort of good. Okay, Criston's not a good man, but he at least represents to Alicent a sort of the way that she had been living her life. That there is sort of a code of conduct that matters. That the idea that she's playing fair, I guess. You know, that Criston wouldn't tear out a kid's eye for her. And it's sort of the same thing between them. So Larys is seen again on the boat with Alicent. Hang on, let me see if I can find the line. Larys saunters up and says, "A perversion of justice. The young prince defiled an outrage." He's doing the same thing as Otto. He's encouraging Alicent's feelings of being angry. Yeah, Criston's not a good person, but he's distinctly less a bad person than Larys Strong, okay? I think we can agree that. On the scale of like 1 to 10 of bad people, like Criston's probably like a 7 or an 8, but Larys is like a 25. And that's the kind of the point I'm making here. He represents a very different kind of evil and a very different level of what you're willing to do. And Alicent's like, all right, we're all in on Larys. Alicent says, indeed. And then Larys says, if it's an eye you want to balance the scales, I'm your servant. And he's basically saying, hey, if you want me to go take out an eye for one of my nephews, I will totally do it for you, Alicent. Oh, hey, learned hands. Clint or Mary, whichever one it was. Hey, how you guys doing? Now, I actually thought this was another unintentionally funny moment because Alicent turns to him and very, very deliberately says, that will not be necessary, but your devotion has not gone unnoticed. Because obviously, last time Alicent gave a command to Larys that was like, or even expressed an interest that was sort of ambiguous about what she wanted to happen, Larys then killed his entire family. So Alicent has quite clearly learned that when she gives commands to Larys, she has to be hyper specific about what she means. Like, do not murder 5 people to do this, Larys. Like, it's okay. Don't do this. Which was unintentionally funny. I did like that. And Larys says back, these are dangerous times. Alicent says, the day doubtless comes where I will need such a friend with not only skill but discretion. And Larys puts this big smile on his face and says, I shall await your call, my queen. So Larys is now going to be Alicent's primary ally. That Criston is getting dumped and Larys is stepping up to the plate. Yeah, that's not a good sign for what Alicent's going to do after she almost just killed a kid and almost killed Rhaenyra in front of the entire court. If you're embracing Larys, I just killed my father and brother as your primary ally, things aren't going to go good. He seems just so excited to do some war crimes. And then we get to kind of the last part of there's 3 more things coming up. We're going to try and run through these fast because we've been talking for quite a while. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, so... Oh, yes, that's a good call, Maxim Howard. Pretty symbolic that Rhaenyra was cut with that blade, too. Prophecy is the double-edged sword. Yeah, blood on the blade, similar to Bran when he got cut with the blade later in the series. So, what ends up happening is Daemon and Rhaenyra have this big conversation, and it starts off with this, and it's another really well-written dialogue from Rhaenyra, and she says, "I need you, uncle," and then she switches to High Valyrian, their love language as they call it. "I cannot face the Greens alone." Call back to Helena, these are officially the Greens now. "Let us bind our blood just as Aegon the Conqueror did with his sisters. With you as my husband and prince consort, my claim would not be so easily challenged. The Velaryons are of the sea, but you and I are made of fire. We have always meant to burn together." Daemon's like, I can't really do that. You're married. Like, that's a big no-no, especially, not even Daemon could have 2 wives, so there's no chance that Rhaenyra's going to. And Rhaenyra's like, "I know." And Daemon's like, what are we talking about here? What are you saying, Rhaenyra? Are you saying that you want me to Rhea Royce Laenor Velaryon? Yeah, he seems really taken aback at this. And you can see why. I think for Daemon, that Rhaenyra has always... that he didn't want her to become like him in a way. You know, that he said earlier that, I spared you from being with me, that Daemon sees himself as such a chaotic and awful person that clearly he's really surprised that Rhaenyra kind of shares his ambition, that she wants to, get rid of her husband in order to seize power. And he's like, oh, okay. Dragon gas lipstick? Okay. They need to start selling that one. Otto's the Palpatine the situation. That is correct, Learned Hands. Absolutely. So Daemon puts on his murdering cloak and we see him down at the harbor, and he approaches Carl Corey, who's like sitting in this weird little alcove. He's looking very unhappy. Laenor basically just broke up with him. And Carl gets really close to Carl. Daemon gets really close to Carl and talks about how, there's places across the narrow sea where it does not matter what a man's name is, only how much gold he possesses. And Carl's like, "What are you telling me to do here, Daemon?" And he just says, "A quick death, one with witnesses," and then slams a pile of gold into his hand. So the episode here is doing a big fake out. They clearly want you to think that Daemon just paid for Carl Corey to kill Laenor Velaryon. This is one of the things that I had to go back and watch this a couple times to like think through exactly what happened with this whole sequence. It's a little tough to get through, but all right. So basically what actually happens, despite the fake out they're doing, is that Daemon has paid Carl Corey to fake Laenor's death, and then the 2 of them get on a boat and go across the sea to Essos. And the rationale for why they do this is coming from the narration that's coming overhead, where Rhaenyra says, "I will not be a tyrant who rules through terror." And Daemon basically says, like, well, you have to. People have to fear you. You have to do things that make them respect you if you can't be like Viserys. And Rhaenyra's like, "I do love Laenor, though." Basically saying, like, I don't want to kill him. And Daemon's like, "Then grant him this kindness, set him free." And this was really confusing to me at first. I took the set him free as in set him free from life. Like, let's go through with this. I will Rhea Royce him. We'll get him out of the picture. This will be okay. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Arya Stark, $5. Appreciate it. Loved the hat. Really enjoyed the episode. All the dragons. Wish they show Helena riding hers. I'm going to bed. I'm old. I can't keep. Okay, yeah, fair enough. We'll see Dreamfire later, I guess. So the scene opens and you see Laenor and Carl fighting in front of some servant boy, and there it ends up being sort of like a nonsense reason. He's like, "You always talk down to me," and drew his sword, and the two of them start fighting, and the servant boy's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna go get help." But meanwhile, you see Damon kill this random guy that's sort of walking through the Velaryon halls, and the kid goes and gets Corlys and Rhaenys, and they get the guards, and they're running back to the Hall of the Nine. It's not really that long of a journey, by the way. Like, we saw Viserys walking through this. It's relatively quick. In that time, apparently, Carl has killed Laenor and shoved him into the fire, which has burned him beyond recognition in, like, a crazy small amount of time. Instead, what we find out actually happened is that this was that guy that Damon killed. Damon killed him. They dressed him up like Laenor. They started this fight in front of this kid, and then shoved the dead body into the fire, and then I guess escaped. It was hard to track at first. I did have to go back a few times and like watch through. I'm like, wait, what just happened? Why did they do this? And again, it goes back to the narration that Rhaenyra wants Laenor gone, but she doesn't want to kill him. And Damon's making like, oh, we don't have to kill him. We just have to make it look like you did so that people will fear you. In like the same sort of way that like I assume that Alicent had a hand in killing Harwin. We need to make people think that I, Damon, and also you, Rhaenyra, are savage enough to kill even Laenor Velaryon for your goals. And yeah, there is okay. So there's obviously a couple big reasons they didn't kill Laenor, which I'm not upset about. Like, I'm actually pretty happy they didn't kill Laenor. I like the actor. John McMillan has been great. I love Laenor as a character. I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do with him in the future, but I'm happy he's not dead. But I think they thought better of basically killing another of the just like completely brutally killing every single queer character that has showed up in the show so far. So yeah, good choice on that one. I want to know what they're going to do with Laenor in the future, but I think rather than in terms of like what the idea of saving Laenor's life in the story and having him go off to Essos, which he totally could have, like, I guess, although I'm pretty sure he's just like flat out dead in the books. Like, they see his corpse. There's a number of problems. Actually, Sanrixian and everyone in the comments on YouTube said the same thing. Like, what the hell about Sea Smoke? Laenor's not dead, and we just saw that Vhagar flew across the ocean with Lena's body. So I don't really know what's going to happen to Sea Smoke here. Like, is Sea Smoke going to go across the narrow sea too to follow Laenor? I don't quite understand. That one's kind of a problem, especially because Sea Smoke, minor spoiler, he does get used later in the story, or she. I don't actually know it. Sea Smoke, male or female? I feel like Sea Smoke's male, but I don't actually know. They only know when they lay eggs, and apparently they can just sort of change at the. Did I say Sea Smoke? Sea Smoke, Sea Smoke, Sea Smoke. That one's going to be curious. As far as I know, no two people can ride a dragon. It's like one at a time. So either Laenor dies in the future, or they're just going to change that. I don't quite know about it. Tricked into unbonding. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. But I thought the other problem, more than like sort of trying to work through the dragon lore problems and like the logic problems of how Laenor's alive and what he's going to do now, is that I thought that they focused way too much on Rhaenyra and Daemon for this scene. Um, they had Rhaenyra and Daemon talk about how the Velaryons are of the sea and how the sea represents an escape, and how the Targaryens are fire, but they're water. And all this stuff about like, you can just escape and go do something else. These are all lines that I thought Laenor should have said. That instead of just sort of getting on a boat and rowing his way out like Gendry, I really wanted to see what his reaction was to getting this news. So, like, if you think back to the sequence of events, so Daemon gives Carl Corey a bunch of money. So clearly, Carl works it out with Laenor that they're going to fake his death and run away. But as a part of that, Laenor has to realize that Rhaenyra is basically saying, I reject you, get out of my life. What did he say to that? What did he think about that? Did he struggle with the idea that he has to leave behind Sea Smoke and his family and the life he has in Westeros to go to Essos to be someone random? It's like, it's the offer that Kristen gave Rhaenyra, except we don't get to see what Laenor thought of it. And that was my biggest problem with the idea that Laenor survives this death at the end. It's that it's not focused on him, it's focused on Rhaenyra. I wanted to know what he thought, and that just really wasn't there. Maybe we will in the future. Maybe while he's out there rowing and he bumps into Gendry, they'll talk about it. But yeah, I didn't like it for that reason. I know other people are going to like it for other reasons, for like breaking the book canon, and that there's no clear understanding of what Laenor's going to do in the show from now on. It's just that I thought that they missed the emotional beat, and that they gave him this big speech earlier that he's like, I'm 100% committed to you, Rhaenyra. I'm going to raise these kids. And then he just totally changes his mind, but we don't see it happen. Yeah. So I don't know if that's why if that's how anyone else feels like, but as a concept, I am perfectly happy that Laenor is alive. I didn't really think that he was, I like his character. I like the actor. I like the performance. I want more Laenor Velaryon. I remember being disappointed in Fire and Blood, just being like, oh, that he dies right here? Oh, all right, fine. I guess he's gone, because he seemed like an interesting guy, and now he's going to come back somehow in some way, so that's fine. I don't mind changes for adaptations. It's just, I don't think it was a well executed adaptational change. Like they were missing like one or two scenes of Laenor hearing the news and thinking this through and all that other kind of stuff. It actually could have been while they were rowing away. I thought it would have been good to give him like an exit speech, and to have Carl like question him about why he's doing this, and like Laenor kind of explaining. I was talking to Joanna Robinson about this earlier, and my point was, I think that they showed you that Laenor's okay with it because he left, but I wanted them to tell me. I wanted to know what his thoughts were. And what are his internal justifications for why he went along with the fake his death plan to go on to Essos, because it's not explained. We don't know why he agreed to do it. Especially with leaving behind Sea Smoke, which is going to be a thing. Dragon's apparently going to go after him at some point. So I don't know. That's kind of my thought on that one. I didn't super like it. I don't care that it breaks book canon or anything, like whatever. That's Laenor dying there is not a big deal to me. Or it would, okay, changing that is not a big deal to me, and I see the good reasons to do it. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Keep him alive. I'm glad. Well, I'm not even sure it is a good ending, Mallory. We don't really know what's going to happen to him from here. This is like a totally new chapter in Laenor's life. Is he gone from the show forever now, or is he going to come back? Like, does he show up later in the dance as a different character or something? There's they're gonna have to make up something if this is not just his last scene. So yeah, I'm sure my opinion on this will change when we eventually see what they do with him. Like if they just kill him off screen in Essos and that's how they free up Sea Smoke for what he ends up doing, like I'm not going to be super happy about that. Like if you keep him alive, if you're changing this, have it matter later in the story too. Don't just have it be this and then end. That's my thought on it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. It was, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan that they Gendry'd him. Basically, that's the end of, if that's the end of his story, that they put him on a boat rowing out to the sea. That's what Game of Thrones did to Gendry, and I don't want Laenor to be Gendry Part 2, but it's hard not to see that's what they just did to him. Just kind of row off into the sunset, and maybe we'll pick you back up later. Although I guess I have a little bit more faith in Ryan Condal and his team to make it work later than Dan and Dave did. I guess he's going to the Disputed Lands. And then the last part of it is the Valyrian marriage. I mean, this comes before what I was just talking about. We get to the marriage between Damon and Rhaenyra. Really not that not a lot of happiness or passion going on in this wedding. Like this is what Rhaenyra has been dreaming about since she was a teenager, and she's kind of like, oh, yay, we're doing this finally. We're going through with it. Yeah, in the chat, yeah, the kids look totally miserable to be seeing this. There's a weird maester we've never seen before that gets quite a lot of camera time. Like they focus on him quite a bit. I'm guessing he's going to be a part of the story going forwards. And we get to see what is a Valyrian marriage, I guess. Rhaenyra is wearing kind of like a crazy headdressy thing. I'm not really sure what it is. They're both wearing these white robes that's kind of like with like a gradient of red on it or something like that. A lot of blood in this wedding. You see a priest that's performing kind of the Valyrian marriage rites. He's also wearing a similar vest thing to Vaemon, so I guess this means that it's like a Valyrian holy person. I don't really know. I guess that's what it is. Then they take a piece of obsidian, which I thought was interesting because Amanda made that video talking about obsidian today, but it looked like they dragged obsidian like right here across their mouths, which that's gonna suck. They're not gonna be able to eat anything for like a couple weeks on that one. I'm also pretty sure this is back on Dragonstone. I don't think they did this on Driftmark. Then they take their hands and they slash all the way across it, like deep cuts across their hands, and then they grasp them together, and there's blood sort of dripping off their hands and their mouths, and they like draw something on their forehead, and then they kiss, and they promise to did I actually write this down? I forget what they said. It's something in High Valyrian. They basically like promise to blah blah blah, they're married. Rhaenyra looks kind of happy, but Daemon's face is kind of inscrutable. I don't really know what he's thinking. If he's happy about this, because it's a really fast marriage for the two of them, and they haven't seen each other for 10 years, and they're really different people, and they are both coming off their effective spouses dying. And is this more political? Is this power based for both of them? Like, or is this love based? Because it's always sort of felt that Rhaenyra was the one with the more romantic interest, and Daemon's interest in Rhaenyra was more trying to screw with Viserys, but also kind of power based, more or less. Yeah, they don't seem super happy. I don't know. What do you guys think? What'd you make of Matt Smith's performance here? Because he doesn't look happy. I don't think I don't know. Rhaenyra looks more satisfied than happy. Like, but this is kind of the problem. She's sort of pinning everything on Daemon. Like, well, finally, my uncle's back. My chaotic uncle with his dragon. This will make my succession go great. And this is the power alliance I need. And it's like, is it? Is it Rhaenyra? I don't think it is. Daemon has no allies. He has Caraxes. That's something, I guess. Everybody hates Daemon. This isn't going to help you win any support, I guess. He's not good politically. His best thing he can do is basically kill a bunch of people for you, if that's what Rhaenyra wants. I sort of took this as the flip side to Rhaenyra, I mean to Alicent and Larys, that this is sort of Rhaenyra embracing the ugly game, as Otto calls it. That she's embracing what he represents, that this is her preparing for war, and that she knows that Alicent has really pushed things to the edge, and that she doesn't think she can win whatever struggle is coming just by sort of fighting the way they were. She needs a wild card like Daemon to help her. And yeah, this is not going to turn out well for her. And I know shippers are probably losing their minds, and they are super happy about the fact that the Daemon and Rhaenyra finally got together, but this is a very ominous marriage, and the music wasn't happy, and the color grading was very muted, and their kids looked pissed, and I was just like, oh boy, like this reminded me way more of her marriage to Laenor, with her crying and Viserys falling down and blood in the background than it did like the triumphant execution of this relationship that had sort of been foreshadowed for quite a long time. Yeah, also it was just gross. Like the blood was gross. I don't know. Yeah, Sasuke made a good point. I don't know how you're kissing with like your lip sliced open. That can't be good. That's gonna hurt a lot. Like this was painful, and shot with a shade over the camera. Yeah, basically. I think it's on purpose that they showed you that the marriage between them hurts. That it's taking like its wounds that they've joined their causes together. Oh boy. Yeah, if it was strategic, it wasn't very good. Daemon's not really gonna help in the way she wants. He's a warrior, and that's a good thing. But I don't think she's going to expect much help from the Velaryons going forward. They're all pissed at her already, except for Corlys, who's going to defend her. But I don't know. I think she maybe should have picked someone other than Daemon, but she's clearly thinking with a broken heart and thinking about how Alicent just tried to kill her with a dagger more than sort of doing the cold logical thing that she should have done. Yeah, it's she also said an interesting line about how fire is a prison, which was that's also not a great start to a marriage proposal, I guess. Who could she pick outside of Daemon? Jason Lannister probably would still step up. Baratheons, she could have gone for that one. Offering true-blooded Targaryen children, I guess. I think Boros Baratheon is probably unmarried at this point. Jason Lannister still has the mountain of gold. Starks are an option. Vale's an option. They're the same options that she had when she married Laenor Velaryon. It's just Daemon was a bad choice back then, and he's kind of a bad choice now. And we're gonna see definitely how this relationship works out, because Daemon is, I know, Jason Lannister, but he's a shithead, but he's a shithead with gold and armies, and if that's what Rhaenyra thinks she needs to beat back the High Towers at some point, then it's not a terrible choice. Okay, it is a terrible choice as like a person. Jason Lannister would suck to marry, but she's not really married. That's not really. She needs to be thinking more about like what's going to happen now that Allison has really pushed it to the next level. Um, Although he might be married and have a kid by now. I'm not really sure what the canon is on what Jason's up to at this point. Um, and we're gonna see like what this relationship actually looks like now that it's not the two of them, sneaking around at night and giving each other furtive glances, and it's not this forbidden thing that they can't have. It's like the reality of being with each other and the marriage that they just went through, and on a day-to-day life living with Daemon Targaryen. Like nobody nobody has enjoyed being around Daemon every single day. And that's sort of been Rhaenyra's relationship to him, that he would come and go, that he would show up at court and he'd disappear. He'd go to the Stepstones and then he'd disappear. He'd get exiled and then he'd come back. She hasn't had, especially this version of Daemon, she doesn't even know who he is anymore. It's been a long time. So there's going to be a lot of growing pains in the on Dragonstone as they try and figure out how to be more than just like both of our effective spouses just died and we screwed on a beach. Like the real relationship's about to come, and I don't know how it's going to go. Don't think she would have given up Lena for anyone else, really. Well, Lena was the smart choice at the time to get the Velaryon faction on her side and their dragons, but nobody else has any dragons. There's no one left to marry on on Driftmark. So at that point, she's kind of looking around. I would say the Baratheons are probably her best shot. If Boros was still unmarried, that's who she probably should have gone to instead of Daemon. But that's neither here nor there. She has married Daemon Targaryen, and now she has to live with the fact that she has her chaotic, like murderous uncle on her side. Good point, Revolution 2020. Yeah, Daemon's not going to stop womanizing. That was sort of, he basically told that to Rhaenyra underneath the weirwood tree, where he's like, marriage for politics, but screw whoever you want on the side. Like, I don't think that's going to go over well. That attitude is exciting when you're the side piece, basically, and what Rhaenyra was. But when you're when you're expecting your husband not to screw around, boy, that's not going to be great. I don't know. Anything I didn't cover, throw it into the chat. At me, bro. We've been going for like a little bit over 2 hours. I'm gonna check my docs, see if anything. Let's see here. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the sex scene. It was I was trying to tell if they tried deliberately to make it less exciting to watch, or if it was just that that was because it was Miguel Sapochnik versus I forget her name, but the female director that did episode 4. I was trying to figure out if it was because it was Miguel versus her, or if it was deliberately scripted that way. Could you speak on why Allison just makes up a paranoid story about Rhaenyra without ever checking it with anyone? Which paranoid story? Which one are you talking about? Get back to me in the chat and I'll answer that one. Brent Dismuck, do you think Rhaenyra is pregnant in the next episode? Probably should be. If there depends on the timeline that they're sticking to. Like Daron, Allison's fourth child, hasn't shown up at all. He's not even on the episode, the character guide that HBO has put up. I don't really know what he is, where he is, if he exists. It'd be crazy if they cut him. But yeah, I think Rhaenyra will probably end up pregnant pretty fast. She's got a couple more kids to give birth to give birth to. So, need more water. This is what happens when you talk for 2 hours straight. Sorry about that. One day my balls will drop. that Rhaenyra will kill her kids. Oh, that's the one Otto told her. She just has sort of internalized it and decided it is true. No evidence that Rhaenyra would ever try to kill her kids. It's just sort of seems to be this lingering fear that upon ascension she's going to murder all of her rivals, which is just it's this blatantly projection from Otto. That's what he would do. There's no indication Rhaenyra has it in her to kill anybody's kids. All right, let's see here. Oh shit! I'm sorry. I should have muted that. I'm sorry. Bad cough. Rip people with headphones. My bad on that one. Is what Viserys is in learning his. Don't know what to make of that one. Do you think Lena Targaryen covering the spider with a shell was some sort of foreshadowing about stopping Larys? I do think the way that they cut that scene and how it instantly goes to Larys, I think that is important. I think they are foreshadowing that something's going to happen between Helena and Larys. I don't know what it is, but it is interesting that they seem to be tying them together at this early point. Helena's had basically two scenes. One of them was about prophecy, and the other one was about prophecy and then Larys. So curious about where that one's going to go. Look forward to that video that I'm going to have coming out pretty soon. Probably going to try and get it out by tomorrow or early Tuesday. We're going to look at that one. Don't you worry. That one's coming up. Sea smoke for nettles in the future? I don't think so. They're doing the wild dragons, so I don't think sea smoke will be with nettles in the future. I wasn't afraid of saying it. I was worried about if I was spoiling people. I guess I am, but they'll probably show up in the next episode, so it's like the minorest of spoilers. Or next episode or two. Rhaenyra had 3 kids off camera, 2 kids off camera, and 1 to show up. So they're having them show up fast. Well, they're not done with child actors. There still will be some. Larys is a firefly, not a spider. They're both insects, so when you're talking about how prophecy kind of works, you can be a little loosey-goosey, especially when you're talking about visual metaphors rather than explicit ones. Thoughts on Larys as a green seer? Larys is a green seer. I think he definitely is. I think his reactions in this episode really, and his bizarre kind of smiling and the things that he's happy about, I think are definitely pointing again towards the idea that he is really happy there's a war coming, that he's causing it, and that he seems to have some sort of long-standing plan, like years or decades in the making, that is so crazy to have it work out that he has to either be the best schemer of all time, or he has to be working with green dreams and green sight and that kind of thing. Otherwise, it's also his amorality is very close to Bran as a character, especially during season 8. So I think definitely there wasn't anything explicit, like there was no rat or anything like that, or the weirwood face, but I think that the way they told Matthew Needham to play Larys in this one continues to point towards the idea that he's working on a different level. Oh, fuck, I forgot again. Oh my god. I need more water. I don't have any. Polar seltzer. I've been going for like 2 hours. Oh, almost 3 hours now. Yeah, we're gonna end this soon. Well, if Larys is the spider, then it's a metaphor. It's not literal. I still don't know what the firefly's about. I don't think anybody does. I haven't seen a convincing explanation, so who knows? Um, last call in the chat. Anything else? Love the videos. Keep 'em up. Thank you, Jonathan Ray Lewis. Appreciate that. If you guys have enjoyed this, by the way, make sure you subscribe for more. We're doing this after every episode for the rest of the season. Going to be putting out videos, and we're obviously I'm not gonna stop when the season ends. There's a lot more I wanted to make videos about. I just don't have time to. So we're gonna do this in the future. So subscribe for a lot more Hot D and Fire and Blood content. Larys is attracted to Alicent. Kind of seems like it. He seems obsessed with her. I don't know if it's attraction, but he's definitely obsessed with her. He seems to think that Alicent is the key to something he really wants. I don't know if that's explicitly like sexual, or if it's that he knows her role in what's coming and that's why he's drawn to her. Or he thinks about her role to come. Because it is, well, that would be a big spoiler. So I'm not going to say what I just thought of, but yeah, Larys has had interest for Alicent for a while, but I mean, just because it definitely could go that way. We know so little about him that actually I was talking about this on Radio Westeros's live stream they did with Jason Concepcion, and I wondered if the reason Larys, despite being now the Lord of Harrenhal, hasn't married anybody is that he's holding out for Alicent, that he wants to marry her when Viserys eventually dies. That would be really an interesting twist on his character, or if he's really just using her. I'm excited to find out which one it is. What do you mean when you said Alicent is choosing Larys over Crispin? Oh, so the exact call out here is that Alicent asked for Crispin to go ahead and cut out Lucerys's eye. And Crispin said no. He refused, and he said, "I'm only sworn to protect you," effectively saying, "I will not do your thuggery." But then Larys offers to do it for her, and Alicent, after hearing the speech about Otto, about, we play the ugly game and that we have to do things that we think are immoral for the sake of victory, Alicent internalizes it and says, "You know what, Larys? Not right now. Don't do this. But in the future, I want what you offer, the guy that just murdered his family." So in that sense, that's a very big choice for Alicent as a character. She no longer wants the Kingsguard knight on her side. She wants the psychopathic murderer. And that's a very big change for her character. Like, she was shocked to learn what Larys did. Now she's like, okay, I think I can use you doing the things I know that you did. So that was what I was trying to say. Yeah, the High Towers are pirates. Definitely. Why am I calling him Crispin? Because it's funny. I know his name is Criston Cole. Making fun of him by calling him Crispin or Sir Crispy. Also, that's what Damon called him. He called him Crispin Cole. Let's see here. All the RT, I know that's what literally happens. I'm going to remove that because it's a big spoiler. But I'm saying that just because we know what ends up, it doesn't mean that Larys doesn't want that to happen, Yeah, Damon just renamed him with an offhanded comment. I think that's probably about it. We've been going for almost 3 hours. My voice is falling apart on me. I gotta get some sleep. Got a video to make tomorrow. So, thank you again for everybody that showed up. A lot of people watching tonight. Thank you everybody that slammed the like button. Thank you to people with the super chats. Michael James for the $2. Arya Stark, Morley, Sanrixian, TJD18, Robert Daniel Pickard, and Lefrenic. And also I want to say thanks to new patrons that showed up recently after my channel took off. So thank you to Steven Stark who came back. Welcome, glad to have you back, Steven. Ariella G. Oh, these people told me their names. Hang on a second. Kate Mudd of Old Stones. Tess Hill, Blood Mage of House Horrigan and Crow's Nest. Zalaridis. I'm terrible at reading new names. Simia Canis, and there was somebody else. Hang on a second. 1 second. I'm just gonna make sure I get these. And Peter Marino, thank all you guys for signing up for my Patreon at patreon.com/JoeMagician. Definitely make sure subscribe to get more content. I'm gonna aim for. I didn't get my 2 videos last week because the one I put out took a lot longer than I thought, but I'm gonna go for 2, and definitely look out for some shorts. I keep recording them, but it's after I've stayed up all night, so I look like shit. So I'm gonna try and get good sleep one of these nights, and then do a short, so that I don't have giant bags under my eyes, and we'll look forward to those. Make sure you show up next week, same time, 10:15 after the episode. We'll be doing the same stuff, breaking down episode 8. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and